Hello everyone, my name is Sai Harsha and I am here to explain about Introduction to CSS. The idea of CSS was got by Hycon in 1994 and the first version was invented in 1996 and the second version CSS2 was released and works began on CSS3 in 1998 as CSS3 was very different from the other versions. For instead of being a single monolithic specification, it was published as a set of separate documents known as modules. Each module dealt with relatively small subsets of the overall specification and either added new feature or refined and extended existing features. All additional and enhancements to the specification were written in order to be backward compatible with older versions of CSS. In 2011, CSS 2.1 was released, which fixed the errors found in CSS 2. Present version of CSS is CSS 3. Different types of selectors. When styling a web page, there are many types of selectors available that allow developers to be as broad or as specific as they need to be when selecting the HTML elements to apply CSS rules to. Here you will learn about something of the common CSS selectors that we will use as a developer. The element selector allows developer to select HTML element based on their element type. For example, if you use P as a selector, the rule will apply to P element or paragraph element on the web page. Here we can do in this styles, we can do in inline CSS and we can do in internal CSS. In inline CSS, we write the style in the opening tag itself. In internal CSS, we open the style tag in head tag in between the head opening and closing tags of head. We open the style tag and we use the selector as follows: P and flower braces open, color, blue, and semicolon and close. Here, P is the element selector, color is the property, and blue is the value. ID selector. The ID selector uses the ID attribute of an HTML element. Since the ID is unique within a web page, it allows the developer to select a specific element for styling. The ID selector are prefixed with a hash character. Here we have given the span element an ID which is latest, and we used the latest ID with a hash symbol before it and opened the brackets, and we used the background color property and we given a value purple, and it is followed by a semicolon and closed with a closing flower brace and class selector. Elements can also be selected based on the class attribute applied to them. The CSS rule has been applied to all elements with the specific class name. The class selector is prefixed with a dot character. In the following example, the CSS rule applies to the both elements as they have to navigate the CSS applied to them. Here, HTML. In HTML, we have given the paragraph tag a class element, class style, and the text is go forward and closing of paragraph. In CSS, we use dot navigation and open the parenthesis and given the property margin and given the value 2 pixels and closed the brackets. Here comes the element with class selector. Descendant selector. Descendant selector are useful if you need to select HTML elements that are contained within the another selector. Let us explore with an example. You will have the following HTML and CSS rule. Here we have HTML code. Here we have div with an ID block and h1 inside the div with the latest element news, and h1 inside the and another div which has h1 and paragraph tag and closing the div, and at the last we have paragraph and closing the div, and an opening div we have h1 tag. Here we used hash block which is an id for the div, and we selected only the h1 elements or only the h1 tags inside the div which is having the id, and we gave the property color and we gave the we applied the property color and we gave the value blue. The css rule will select all the h1 elements that are contained within the element with id block. The css rule will not apply to the h1 elements containing the text archives. The structure of the descendant selector is css selector followed by a single space character followed by another css selector. Child selector. Child selector are more specific than descendant selectors. They only select elements that are immediate descendants of the selector. Here, descendant are children, and the upper one is parent. For example, here we have HTML code, which is having same as the previous one, and the ID is blog. Here we use it as CSS hash blog and a greater than symbol and h1, and we apply the property color and the value is given blue. This will select the element with id block, the parent, then it will select the all the h1 elements that are contained directly in the element, the child. The structure of the child selector is css selector followed by the child combinator symbol greater than followed by another css selector. Hover pseudocode. A special keyword called a pseudo class allows developer to select elements based on their state. Don't worry too. We'll be dealing with this. The hover pseudocode class to the end of the selector. We use a selector, namely a anchor tag with a colon hover, and the property given is color and the value is orange. Whenever we hover over the link, it turns into the orange color. Text and color in CSS. Here, color, the value for the color property can be given in RGB value, RGBA value, HSL value, EXA value, and predefined color name. Here, we represent color as you can say RGB of 20 to 255.00. Here, the three parameters. The first parameter represents red, and second parameter represents green, and third parameter represents blue. If we are given 255 for all the three parameters, we'll be getting white color, and if we are given all the parameters with 0, we'll be getting a black color. Here we have HSL values. H means hue, S means saturation, L means light. In this way, we represent HSL values. The HSL values also contain three parameters. First one is hue, and we give this in percentages. And the first one is hue. The hue percentage is 0, and S saturation percentage is 100%, and L lightness is 50%. Hexadecimal values. We can give the color with hexadecimal values, which here, if you want red, we give hash FF 0000, where first two digits represent red, second two digits represent blue, and second two represent green, and third two represents blue. Here are predefined colors: black, silver, gray, white, maroon, red, purple, green, lime, olive, yellow, navy, blue, teal, aqua. And this is some detailed explanation. I hope it's clear. Thank you.